Progressive candidate Morgan Harper, she's running against right-winger Josh Mandel in the for the Ohio Senate race, and they had a bit of a debate last night. And you can imagine some crazy things that Mandel may say, but his particular points about separation between church and state just might have taken the cake. Let's watch that.
Did our founding fathers ever intend for government to be sterilized from every religious belief?
I do not believe in separation of church and state. There is no such thing. The founders of this country, the founding fathers, they did not believe in separation of church and state. When you read the United States Constitution, nowhere in the United States Constitution do you read about separation of church and state. It does not exist.
Morgan Harper was thinking the same thing when she heard that. Now, of course, he's also running on the lie that Trump did not lose in 2020, of course, as well as the separation of church and state comments he made. But it's also not the only time he had things like that to say. Because back last October, he said, we should be instilling faith in the classroom, in the workplace, and everywhere in society. My personal feeling is that there's no such thing as separation of church and state. The framers of the Constitution envisioned a country where in the classroom, kids would learn about God. I would just like to point out to him that also the framers of the Constitution also envisioned a country where people would be enslaved, and we don't do that. We did. As much as you guys don't want to teach that, we did do that. Also, he tweeted, shut down, this is last October as well, shut down government schools and put schools in churches and synagogues. I'm getting the feeling that some advisor or some focus group that for some reason he looked at told him, hey, this is a good strategy. Let's go towards saying that there's no such thing as separation between church and state. And in fact, let's double down on that and say we should just tear down all schools and put children in the middle of churches because that would accommodate every student. I'm not sure where else this would work, but I guess the first question to open up to you guys is, would it work on you? Are you gonna vote? If you're in Ohio, you're like, oh man, that's my guy. That's my guy, that's the American way. I just don't really see this coming this way.
Yeah, I think that he's not totally wrong technically that the words separation of church and state don't appear in the Constitution. The spirit of that appears in the First Amendment of the Constitution. But you know what else doesn't appear in the Constitution? The word women. So according to the framers of the Constitution, women don't exist by that logic. I just think that this answer was given by a person who clearly doesn't expect that the people who will vote for him will actually read the Constitution to find that he's wrong.
Well, true. That's the first thought, of course. Lance.
Yeah, that's really fair. I don't know. Every time I hear like Judeo-Christian values, it always gets me a little bit nervous as to what exactly they're referencing. Because like when you think of the founding fathers, they were Christians, yes, but they were also rationalists. And I think one of the first things, like if you look at the Jefferson Bible, that is actually just a Bible where he took like the majority of the content of the inside of it and just ripped it out. And it's usually like it's done in lieu of saying something like, well, the founding fathers, like you said, many of them happen to be slave owners themselves, and that the country itself was established on the genocide of indigenous people, which is also pretty yikesy. So to say that Judeo-Christian values, and we're going to keep it exclusively Judeo-Christian values, we're going to kind of make sure that we don't talk about the fact that there are other religions in the United States, is rich, to say the very least.
I'm glad you brought up other religions in the United States, because that is something that many people like to overlook when it comes to saying there's a Judeo-Christian nation and no one else exists here except for those folks. But also the reason that they want to push those kinds of narratives is that there's the claim that one is superior than another. In fact, Christianity is superior to anything else, and that's just because the Christians are the good guys and people like Muslims are the bad guys. This is what he had to say as well.
The Judeo-Christian bedrock of America is the foundation of this country. America was founded on Judeo-Christian values, not on Muslim values, not on atheism, but on Judeo-Christian values. There's so many factors that separate that Judeo-Christian belief set from these other belief sets like Islam and atheism. And one of the main differentiating factors is our belief in good over evil and our willingness to fight for good over evil.
What kind of fighting, I wonder, he's suggesting that the good versus evil are supposed to have? Is this a physical fight? Are these spreading the word of God through force?
I mean, this is a cheap shot, but like by the looks of him, the only fighting he's been doing has been against reality. I was raised Catholic, and I went to a Catholic college. I went to a Catholic university, and when I was a practicing Catholic, I was not a better person than I am now as an agnostic and non-practicing, non-religious person. I would say that the difference between a morality of a person that is an atheist or agnostic and the morality of a person who is Christian is all in whether or not they're actually practicing what they preach. Because there are a lot of Christians that don't practice what they preach. I think Jesus was pretty big on helping poor people. As far as I know, Josh Mandel has not really put forth a great platform for making sure that all poor people are fed and clothed and have a place to live. I don't think Josh Mandel is taking his coat off to clothe the naked. I don't think that he's visiting people in prisons. I don't think that he's comforting the sick. I don't think that he's practicing very many Judeo-Christian values at all. I don't think that having a religion, not having a religion really has anything to do with a person's morality. And the idea that it does is so easily disprovable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of religious people who've done a lot of horrible things throughout history. We should also bring up the fact that Jesus wasn't white. And I think by saying that, we'll add all the controversy you want to this episode. On top of which, like, if you have the people who are the founding fathers, which I guess you could consider them like Puritans, right? Because they're actually trying to separate themselves from the forms of oppression they were seeing that were religious, that were previously happening over in Europe, and then they've come over here. I don't know what is it the First Amendment to the Constitution that he has problems with, or is it like, I know there's a lot of like talk of God in the Declaration of Independence, but even then, like it's things like governments are instituted amongst men. Yeah, they do, and to Aaron's point, they do specifically say men. There's women aren't mentioned there, but it's about deriving the powers of the consent to the governed, if I'm not mistaken. So that's like, you can't find a single part of like the establishing papers or documents of the United States that doesn't in some way talk about the separation of church and state, even if it is really godly or talking about that kind of stuff.
I mean, here's the thing though. I don't think that even Josh Mandel believes that that viewpoint is something that could be implemented on a nationwide scale. Like 100%. He's just trying to goose his supporters. He's trying to get them to open up their wallets. Like nobody who is serious believes that the First Amendment doesn't apply or wasn't intended by the founding fathers. This just seems like something where he's trying to get people to respond. He's trying to get people like us to respond as though he's a serious person. He's trying to get his supporters to respond as though he deserves more of their money, and he really deserves neither.
Well, the reason why he does this, and that's the thing, it's a bit of a virtue signal, it's a superiority complex. It's what we've always kind of done in the country, because there has to be someone beneath you so you can say that you're better than them, and this is just another tool to do that. So, I mean, we've had we've seen the videos of people that are fighting with a woman in a bakery because she wouldn't let you in over wearing a mask, and then the woman who was not masking up would said, "I'm a Christian and I'm an American," as if being a Christian has anything to do with this, because that's what it's supposed to be used for. You're supposed to say, "I'm a Christian, therefore I can break your rules, I can ignore your policies because I'm a Christian." And when people have that kind of just blind thought process that I'm better than you, it's the same thing as saying that I'm better than you. Are you a Christian? Because I am. I'm better than you, so I get to break rules and change the way things are because the founding fathers told me so. It's such a weird logic, and they know someone like Mandel doesn't have any principles or agendas or any policies that will appeal to these folks. So instead, it's, aren't you better than that guy next to you? I am. You should join me in saying that you're better than someone else. Vote for me, and I'll make sure that you feel better than the next guy. I think it's something that's not really sustainable, because after those folks aren't fulfilled in whatever policies that they would like to see make their lives better, because these kind of empty things definitely don't make their lives better. They just need to feel good about themselves.
I'm also totally for freedom of religion and people to believe and practice whatever they want, but would it go both ways? Like if you separated church and state, does that mean you could start teaching science in church? Like does the whole thing flip?
I mean, the Catholic Church now officially believes in evolution, so there is a sort of science church overlap for sure.
They got there a little bit.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.